Hello everyone, and welcome back to NovaLogos Audio English. We keep going through our third series, Portraits of Faith. In our last chapter, we rested by the quiet wells of Isaac. Today, the energy changes completely. We meet a man who was a fighter from the womb, a master of schemes, and a wanderer who spent his life running until he ran straight into God. We meet Jacob. Jacob's name literally means he grasps the heel, or the supplanter. For the first half of his life, he lived up to that name, trying to grab, trick, and bargain his way into a blessing. Have you ever felt like you had to fight for everything you have? Have you ever felt the exhaustion of trying to control your own destiny through your own cleverness? Jacob's story is for the restless. It's for those of us who have spent the night wrestling with our past, our fears, or our identity. Today we explore how God takes a man who tries to steal a blessing and transforms him into a prince who receives a blessing through surrender. Section 1. The Stairway of Grace. Jacob's journey as a pilgrim began when he was running away from the anger of his brother, Esau. He was alone, sleeping on a rock in the middle of nowhere. It was there, in his lowest moment, that God reached out. In the book of Genesis, chapter 28, verse 12, we see his famous vision. He had a dream. A stairway rested on the ground, with its top reaching to the heavens, and God's angels were going up and down on it. Jacob wasn't looking for God. He was just trying to survive. But this, Bethel, house of God experience taught him that heaven is not a distant place. It is connected to our messy earthly reality. God promised to be with him, not because Jacob was good, but because God is faithful. Reflection. Do you feel like you are in a wilderness today, sleeping on a hard rock of circumstance? Remember that the stairway to heaven often lands in the most unexpected and uncomfortable places. God is often most present when we feel most alone. Section 2. The Shadow, the Long Night of Wrestling. 20 years later, Jacob was returning home, but he was still afraid. The shadow of his past, the brother he had cheated, was waiting for him. That night, by the Jabbok River, Jacob faced his greatest shadow. In Genesis chapter 32, verse 24, we read, Jacob was left there alone. Then some man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. This wasn't just a physical fight, it was a spiritual crisis. Jacob was wrestling with his old self, his guilt, and the God he had tried to manipulate. He stayed in the struggle until he was wounded in the hip. His shadow was his self-reliance, and it had to be broken so that he could finally learn to lean on the Master. Mirroring our lives. We all have our Jabbok moments, those long nights of the soul where we wrestle with a difficult decision, a painful memory, or a crisis of faith. We want the blessing, but we want it on our terms. But sometimes, God has to wound our pride so that we stop running and start walking with a holy limp, a reminder that our strength comes from Him, not from ourselves. Section 3. The Light, a New Name, a New Nature. The light broke with the dawn. Jacob, though exhausted and limping, refused to let go. He finally realized that he couldn't grab. this blessing. He had to ask for it. In Genesis chapter 32, verse 28, we witness his transformation. The man said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed." Jacob received a new name, Israel, which can mean one who strives with God. The light of this moment was the shift from being a supplanter, one who trips others, to a prince, one who prevails through God. He saw the face of God, and his life was spared. He walked into the sunrise, no longer a deceiver, but a patriarch. The light of transformation. Transformation often comes through a struggle we didn't choose. Jacob's light teaches us that prevailing with God doesn't mean winning an argument. It means staying in the relationship until you are changed. When you stop trying to be the master of your own destiny, you become a child of the promise. Section 4. Bridge to the present. Wrestling toward maturity. How can Jacob's struggle help us navigate our own challenges today? 1. Don't fear the struggle. If you are wrestling with your faith or your purpose, don't give up. The struggle is often the sign that God is doing a deep work in your soul. 2. Admit your name. When the mysterious wrestler asked Jacob, "What is your name?" Jacob had to admit who he was, the deceiver. Real change begins with the honesty to say, "Lord, this is who I really am." 3. Lean on the blessing. Jacob walked away with a limp, but he also walked away with a new identity. Be willing to let go of your strength if it means gaining His grace. Section 5. Language Clinic. Expressing struggle and transformation. To help you describe your own growth and challenges, let's look at these powerful English patterns. 1. Wrestle with and strive with. These describe an intense, often prolonged effort or conflict. Wrestle with, a problem/thought/person, suggests a close, difficult struggle. Example: I've been wrestling with this decision for weeks. Strive with, God/men, implies a persistent effort to achieve something or overcome a challenge. Spiritual use. Jacob strove with God and came out changed. It shows that God values our persistence and our honesty in the struggle. 2. No longer, but. This is a key pattern for expressing transformation or a change in status. Your name shall no longer be A, but B. Example: he is no longer a student, but a teacher. Spiritual use. This pattern marks the moment when our old nature is replaced by a new identity in grace. 3. Left there alone, and until the break of. These phrases set the scene for intense personal reflection or encounter. Left there alone emphasizes the solitary nature of spiritual encounters. Until the break of dawn is an idiomatic way to say all night long or until a new beginning comes. Example: they talked until the break of dawn. Spiritual use. It symbolizes the transition from the night of struggle to the morning of hope and new identity. Consolidation and review. Key phrases for your journey. 1. A stairway reaching to the heavens. A reminder that God always initiates the connection between our world and His grace. 2. Jacob wrestled with him until dawn. This teaches us that perseverance in prayer and struggle can lead to a divine encounter. 3. I will not let you go unless you bless me. The cry of a soul that has finally realized its desperate need for God's favor. 4. Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel. This highlights the power of God to redefine who we are, regardless of our past. 5. He walked with a limp, a beautiful symbol of blessed brokenness, the idea that our weaknesses can become reminders of God's strength. 6. I have seen God face to face, the ultimate goal of every spiritual struggle, to truly know and be known by the Creator. Closing, the sunrise of grace. Thank you for joining us for Chapter 5. Jacob's life tells us that God doesn't call the perfect, He calls the persistent. He can take your schemes, your mistakes, and even your wounds, and use them to build a nation. Don't be afraid of the shock night you are in. Stay in the struggle, keep holding on, and wait for the dawn. In Chapter 6, we will meet Joseph, the son of Jacob. We will move from the dock, wrestling, of the father, to the dock, dreaming, of the son. We will see how God can take betrayal, slavery, and prison and turn them into a throne of salvation for many. If Jacob's journey from the rock to the river has been a blessing to you, please like this video and subscribe to NovaLogos Audio English. Your support helps us share these stories of struggle and transformation with the world. Hit the notification bell so you can join us for every new portrait. Until we meet again, don't let go until He blesses you. Goodbye.